Tonight on NEWSCENTER, back to business. Korea's main opposition party returns to the National Assembly, putting an end to a 4-day boycott over state-authored history textbooks. Deregulation drive. President Park Geun-hye calls for new steps to cut red tape and eliminate unnecessary regulations. And colorful lights bringing Seoul's autumn night to life. Hundreds of lanterns illuminate the city's landmark stream. We'll take you there. It's Friday, November 6th, 2015. Good evening to our viewers in Korea and hello to those around the world. I'm Moon Conn-young. Now, finally, back to business. Rival political parties in this country have agreed to return to office and get down to business. The main opposition had boycotted all parliamentary activities all of this week over the government's plan to author all history textbooks to be used in middle and high schools across the nation. Our parliamentary correspondent Park Ji-won joins us from the National Assembly. Ji-won, do you have the latest development?
Good evening, Conn-young. Korea's main opposition, New Politics Alliance for Democracy, ended their boycott of the assembly, and they will be back to their parliamentary duties from next Monday.
Our party has decided to normalize all parliamentary affairs from next Monday to put the livelihoods of people first.
But the Liberal Party's floor leader stressed that his party will continue protests outside of parliament by joining with civil organizations to stop the government from issuing state-authored history textbooks at the nation's secondary schools. The party began sit-in protests at the National Assembly on Monday evening after the government confirmed its decision, and members have not attended to any parliamentary activities since. The ruling Saenuri Party welcomed the decision, saying it is a responsible act. Before this decision was made, the Conservative Party urged their counterparts on Friday morning to fulfill their parliamentary duties.
It is a betrayal of the people's trust. The National Assembly is paralyzed for reasons unrelated to the livelihoods of people at a time when the economic situation is severe.
The Conservative Party stressed that pending bills, especially those related to labor reform intended to create jobs for the youth and the Korea-China FTA, are in urgent need of parliamentary approval. Although the main opposition has decided to return to parliament, bipartisan conflict is expected to remain, particularly concerning the government's budget discussions for next year. The opposition party says budget deliberations that were conducted without NPAD lawmakers in attendance at the meeting should be discussed again from next Monday. Conn-young?
Thanks, Ji-won. That was our National Assembly correspondent, Park Ji-won. Now, President Park Geun-hye met with her cabinet this Friday to discuss progress made so far on the nation's deregulation drive. What was discussed and what will be done? Arirang News Presidential Office correspondent Hwang Sang-hee is at the nation's top office. Sang-hee, another push from President Park to cut red tape and eliminate unnecessary regulations.
Conn-young, President Park opened Friday's meeting by reiterating the importance of deregulatory reform. For the past 2 years, the government has been pushing to ease regulations as a measure to prop up the ailing economy.
우리 경제 활력 회복과 미래 먹거리 확보를 위해서는 시장 수요와 기술 발전에 상응하는 규제 개혁의 업그레이드가 필요하다고 생각합니다. 규제 개혁은 우리의 미래 먹거리 창출을 위한 가장 효과적인 수단이라고 할 수 있습니다.
The efforts were worthwhile. 39 new investments from eased regulations this year yielded 12,000 new jobs and an economic effect of $9.6 billion. From this point on, the president said unnecessary business restrictions must not block the growth of new industries.
새로운 상품 개발과 시장 창출을 촉진하기 위해서 미리 관련 제도와 규범을 정비하는 선제적 규제 개혁에도 관심을 기울여야 하겠습니다.
For one, the Cabinet Office said it will improve its authorization process, including the lifting of 36 unnecessary authorization guidelines. The move is expected to save $4.7 billion in costs and bring about a $7.5 billion increase in sales. And with a handful of deregulation bills sitting idle at the National Assembly, President Park called on the parliament to join in on the government's efforts. She asked lawmakers to consider the livelihoods of the people and swiftly pass the related bills. Conn-young?
Sang-hee, our presidential office correspondent Hwang Sang-hee on the Korean president's efforts to ease excess regulations in this country. Now turning our eyes to inter-Korean relations, we're learning today that South Korea has already made multiple attempts to bring the North back to the table for inter-Korean talks, but Pyongyang has not accepted any of the proposals. Our Unification Ministry correspondent Song Ji-sun is standing by. Ji-sun, so have there been some interactions between the two Koreas?
Good evening, Conn-young. Officials at South Korea's Unification Ministry told reporters that Seoul has invited for inter-Korean talks 3 times since late September, but that the North did not accept them. The invitations were for working-level meetings to prepare for high-level talks sent from Unification Minister Hong Yong-pyo to his North counterpart, Kimjang. In regards to the first attempt made on September 21st, Pyongyang responded 2 days later, saying it will comply with their agreement reached during their high-level talks in August, but warned Seoul not to ruin the mood by sending out propaganda leaflets or through other provocative actions. Seoul sent another letter of invitation the next day, and the latest one on October 30th, after the reunions for war-separated families were held successfully. But Pyongyang did not even bother to receive the last letter from the border office of Panmunjom. The South Korean government, however, added there is positive momentum in relations between the two countries, especially in civilian exchanges. President Park Geun-hye on Thursday has also called on North Korea to resume governmental talks and stressed the need to establish an inter-Korean exchange and cooperation office. Governmental talks are crucial to tackle issues such as the resumption of tours to North Korea's Mount Kimjang and setting up a permanent channel for exchanges for war-separated families. On a positive note, the lack of response is not necessarily an official rejection, which means that the North would merely buy some time to gain a better ground in negotiating with the South. In other words, the chances for inter-Korean talks are still open, but it seems there's still no hurry for Pyongyang. Back to you, Conn-young.
Well, at times, no news is good news with North Korea. Not exactly what we've seen so far, but chances do remain open. Thanks, Ji-sun. Our Song Ji-sun from the nation's Unification Ministry. Now, we reported last night the full text of the ambitious Trans-Pacific Partnership, which has been finally made public. After carefully reading through the fine print of all 6,000 pages, the Korean government says the TPP is not a whole lot different from the Korea-U.S. bilateral free trade deal. But experts warn this could become a threat to Korea's exports. How? Our Kimjang explains.
No big surprises. That's what Korea's trade ministry said about the level of market liberalization of the recently agreed U.S.-led trade pact, adding that the TPP is similar to the free trade agreement between Seoul and Washington. The long-awaited text of the deal was released on Thursday after being under wraps for more than 5 years, revealing the details of a pact which will open up trade in 40% of the world's economy. The comprehensive agreement outlines a market opening for 95 to 100% of export goods depending on the country over the course of 30 years. This is about the same as the Korea-U.S. deal that eliminates tariffs on 98 to 100% of products over 25 years. Although Korea may not face any immediate consequences due to a string of existing free trade agreements in effect, experts warn that eventually Korean products could lose their competitive edge in the global market. This comes as most countries in the TPP have agreed to fully open their manufacturing sectors to foreign goods, an area in which Korea has a strong foothold. For one, the U.S. plans to scrap tariffs on Japanese electronic and mechanical products immediately, whereas the Korea-U.S. FTA eliminates tariffs on manufactured goods over 10 years, which means Korean products won't be tariff-free until 2021.
Because Korea and Japan compete in similar sectors, the TPP will put Japan at a great advantage, and the deal will only give favor to products that use parts and components made within the trading bloc.
The expert added that for now, Korea should take time to closely assess the regulations of the trade pact before deciding when to join, and that joining with other countries with similar interest could be a strategy for negotiating terms. Kimjang, Arirang News.
It was once on a decline, the number of temporary workers in this country. But in the span of a year, the tide has changed and that figure is on the rise. Our Shin Se-min takes a look at what may be behind this sudden change of trend.
3 out of 10 paid workers in Korea are temporary workers. As of August this year, the number of temporary workers reached over 6.2 million, accounting for 32.5% of total workers, a figure that exceeds the OECD average of 22. The average monthly salary for temporary workers was just over $1,288, slightly more than half of what regular workers would earn. And while regular workers' salaries rose 3.5%, that of temporary workers barely inched up 1%.
What's interesting to note is that the growth of temporary workers was led by women and those aged 60 and over. The reason? Former business owners opting for quick employment after going out of business.
The National Tech Service says that on average, there are approximately 960,000 new businesses being opened annually, but that an overwhelming majority, 800,000, end up going out of business. The current job market is also causing many to lose their footing.
At this stage, I can only do so much, so I'm just thankful to be working.
We just have to bite the bullet. With my contract nearing its end, I'm worried how I should restructure my career.
But it's a crisis foreseen.
The gap hasn't narrowed. Government's goals of expanding employment have sidetracked because employment surged on the back of booming hourly paid workers, a crisis that will only distort our already imbalanced job market.
Adding that the overuse of the labor and the discrimination against temporary workers on their welfare front is the most dire issue among the workforce, experts add the need to shrink the temporary working population is imminent. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
South Korea's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se is due in Iran this Saturday to meet with his Iranian counterpart Mohammad Javad Zarif. It'll be the first time in 14 years for a South Korean foreign affairs chief to make a trip to Tehran. Its significance and what we can expect from this historic meeting. Arirang News Kwon So-ah is live in the studio with me. So it seems that a lot of significance is being placed on the two foreign ministers meeting this time around.
That's right, and that for a very good reason, because it's not only the first time since 2001 when South Korea's former foreign minister Han Seung-soo visited the country, but it's also the very first time after the Iran's landmark nuclear deal. And this is crucial as Seoul and the international community are aiming at denuclearizing North Korea. Now, the deal between Iran and 6 world powers struck in July after over a decade-long deadlock involves the curbing of Iran's nuclear program in exchange for relieving sanctions. Now, the historic agreement put the spotlight quickly on North Korea afterwards, as many wish for the communist regime to benchmark Tehran's decision. And this issue is expected to be the main theme on the table when Seoul's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se meets his Iranian counterpart Mohammad Javad Zarif, whom he will be meeting for the 3rd time since taking office. And to set up the table, the two will be evaluating how Iran's denuclearization progress has been going so far and what's expected in the future. But also state of affairs in the Middle Eastern and Northeast Asian region will be on the agenda, as well as Seoul-Tehran bilateral ties. Now, those are also expected to be discussed between Yoon and Iran's President Hassan Rouhani during Yoon's one-day trip.
So it's good to hear that Minister Yoon Byung-se is not on unfriendly terms with the Iranian counterpart. He's met with him two times already, and this is his third time.
Exactly.
Right. Let's talk about where bilateral relations between Seoul and Tehran stand at this point, Soa.
Well, South Korea and Iran have established diplomatic ties back in 1962, and 5 years later, Korea opened its embassy in Iran, while the Iranian embassy in Korea opened in 1975. And Conn-young, on the economic front, trade accounted for $8.6 billion last year, with $4.1 billion in exports to Iran and $4.5 billion imports to Korea, so pretty similar there. But what's also important is that the Iran's relations with North Korea, of course, which are very close, especially when it comes to their cooperation in developing nuclear material. And in terms of military ties, their alliance was demonstrated back in the 1980s during the Iran-Iraq war, when Pyongyang stood by Tehran, supporting it with weaponry.
Right, so that's surely another reason why Seoul should be talking with Tehran. But Minister Yoon, on his way to Tehran, he stopped by in Luxembourg.
That's right, and that is because of the Asia-Europe Foreign Ministers meeting, which wraps up today under the title, the theme of working together for a sustainable and a secure future. That for Yoon was a good occasion to call on the ASEM members to cooperate on the denuclearization of North Korea.
International cooperation key to denuclearizing North Korea. Thanks, Soa.
Thank you.
Well, as our Kwon So-ah discussed, Minister Yoon's visit to Tehran on Saturday is also very significant because it comes just 4 months after Iran and the group of 5+1, which are, of course, Russia, China, the U.S., Britain, France, and Germany, on July 14th reached a conclusion on a 159-page nuclear agreement that would terminate all nuclear-related sanctions imposed on Tehran over its nuclear energy program. So could this trip made by Seoul's top diplomat send a clear message to Pyongyang? We asked for an expert's view.
South Korean government wants to give a message through this meeting. It means if North Korea stopped nuclear activity or nuclear development, they will have some economic aid or economic package from the international community, including US or South Korea. This is the message the Korean government wants to give North Korea. But I'm not so sure North Korea will follow or will listen to the message, because North Korea has a very hard time, economic difficulty nowadays. Also, the problem is South Korean government does not have any initiative to progress, to discuss, to talk with North Korea. So I think first we need to talk to North Korea, and then we can say, oh, look at the Iranian case. And then maybe North Korea will consider, or they come out to the meeting or discuss with us.
Well, North Korea has on various occasions said that it has no interest in an Iran-style nuclear disarmament deal, which is why experts remain wary on what could come out of this upcoming Seoul-Tehran meeting. Instead, some focus on Seoul's renewed interest in business opportunities in Iran, as the lifting of international sanctions will allow it to tap into the oil-rich country's energy sector.
There are two main reasons for the South Korean foreign minister to make his visit to Iran at this time. First, to discuss the political cooperation between the two countries regarding nuclear issues, and second, to boost their economic partnership. But it's hard to say that the Iranian nuclear deal will help put an end to North Korea's nuclear program. This is due to a relationship triangle among South Korea, North Korea, and Iran. Instead, there's a good chance that this meeting will help strengthen the economic cooperation between South Korea and Iran. Iran is an enormous market with a population of 80 million people. It's also a natural resource superpower, which owns the world's fourth largest oil reserves and the second biggest natural gas reserves. So it's obvious that Iran's nuclear deal will provide some leeways for its economy to actively grow in the future.
Well, the Seoul Lantern Festival kicked off today in Cheonggyecheon Stream in downtown Seoul. Beautiful lights and lanterns lit the northern Seoul along the stream, shining light on Seoul's traditional beauty and introducing new tourist spots. For more details on the site, let's go live to our Lee Ji-won at Cheonggyecheon. Ji-won, how is the atmosphere there tonight?
Good evening, Conn-young. It's very exciting here at Cheonggyecheon Stream, and many people, especially couples, are out here to enjoy the beautiful lanterns despite the heavy rain. Starting around 6 p.m., as people finish from their work, many drop by the area to take a walk around the lanterns before heading home or their other appointments. Even though it got colder later in the night, more drop by the stream for a leisurely autumn stroll.
Oh, it was wonderful. It's beautiful. It's really, really nice. If we are going to go again, if we have time, we will.
I'm having a lot of fun with my daughter. We dropped by this place and it's wonderful. We hope to come here next year too.
Oh, well, Ji-won, it does look quite lovely. And now I know that the festival is an annual event, and every year they have some especially eye-catching pieces not to miss, right?
That's correct. Among some 600 pieces, Irol painting is a very exquisite work that represents the theme antique beauty in Seoul. Irol painting is a traditional folding screen of the Joseon dynasty that was placed behind Korean kings to praise their virtue and ask the ancestors for their blessings. The lantern of Irol painting at the festival carries a similar message in praying for peaceful days at Seoul and for the city to prosper. Now, luckily for us, this Cheonggyecheon Stream Lantern Festival is not a short event. It runs until November 22nd, so we have plenty of time to enjoy the site.
Well, I'll definitely be one of those visitors to the festival when the weather is clear. All right, thank you, Ji-won. Despite the rain, that was a great report. That was our Lee Ji-won reporting live from Cheonggyecheon Stream on the Seoul Lantern Festival. Now, preparations are underway for the launch of the Visit Korea Year campaign, just right for the Lantern Festival. Now, local celebrities and those in the tourism sector are working to welcome visitors from all over the world and create a hospitable image through the nationwide K-Smile movement. Our Oh Soo-young tells us more.
On Friday, the Korean government unveiled a 2-year campaign at a launching ceremony held in Seoul to welcome visitors from around the world. The Visit Korea Year campaign will officially start next year, leading up to the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics.
우리나라를 다시 찾는 나라, 다시 오고 싶은 나라로 만들기 위해 관광 산업을 업그레이드 시켜야 합니다.
And this improvement to the tourism industry will start with a smile.
There have been some cases where tourists experienced a lack of hospitality in shopping, transport, and accommodation, so we seek to resolve these issues with welcoming campaigns such as the K-Smile movement.
K-Smile initiative aims to welcome foreign visitors with a friendly smile, leaving a lasting warm impression and encouraging them to visit the country again. 10 representatives across Korea's tourism sectors and a team of university students pledged to lead the initiative.
I'm probably one of the first Koreans that foreign visitors will encounter at the airport. So I think I should take pride in this and make an effort to create a positive image for those entering the country.
Also, Lee Min-ho and Seoryun, world-famous Korean celebrities, were appointed as official endorsers by the Minister of Culture. Following the launching ceremony, 65 champions of the K-pop cover dance festival held in 12 different countries showed their winning moves on stage. It's cold, windy and slightly raining, but almost 1,000 people have gathered to celebrate the launch of the 2-year campaign. Under the slogan, Korea Smiles and the World Smiles Back, the Visit Korea Committee hopes to deliver a warm and hospitable image of Korea. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
To some, history may not be the most exciting of subjects, but that perception may change thanks to traditional assets recreated for application in our daily lives through technology. Our Lee Soo-eun has more.
Today's forum takes place under the theme Rediscovering Korea Through Science and aims to transform Korea's traditional assets into cultural and other products. At first, this may conjure up thoughts like historical artifacts or some ancient philosophy, but it's not just about the past.
It's about what's happening here.
where I am now. It can be anything and everything in daily life.
He gives the example of developing a bridge over the Han River, an inevitable part of daily life in Seoul, into a cultural product.
You can build a two-story bridge. The lower level of the bridge will operate a high-speed shuttle for pedestrians with a path for bicycles. On top, there will be restaurants selling food from various eras in our history and multicultural shops too. It will expand the nation's image of a dynamic Korea.
Another expert, film director Lee Seung-yeol, shares his experience in film production atop a traditional rocket invented in 15th century Korea.
Shingijeon was an unprecedented accomplishment in the history of humanity in terms of size and range for a rocket. I wanted Koreans to take pride in our historical assets.
The Ministry of Science, which hosted the forum, emphasizes that science creates future value from historical resources.
Tradition has often been marginalized because history mainly focused on modernization. It's the role of science and technology to develop hidden traditional assets for use in daily life for Koreans and the rest of the world.
Convergence of science and culture, transcending the boundaries of time, is the keystone to leveraging traditional assets and ultimately enhancing Korea's brand. Lee Soo-in, Arirang News.
At almost every household or restaurant in Korea, you'll easily spot a red and spicy side dish on the table. It's kimchi, Korea's most renowned and staple dish, and it's usually made in large quantities during this time of year. Our very own Kim Ji-yeon went out to experience this very special event of Kimjang, the making and sharing of kimchi.
At around this time of the year until mid-December, Koreans get together with their family and in groups to make kimchi. Kimchi is usually made with cabbages, radishes, and red pepper, but the ingredients can slightly differ depending on the region. Kimjang, or the process of making kimchi, requires many people because it's usually made in large quantities, enough to provide nutrition throughout the cold winter months.
Nowadays, people in communities bond together by making kimchi to promote it as an art form and sharing culture, like here in the Seoul Kimchi Festival taking place on Friday.
Organized by the city of Seoul, some 6,000 people are to participate in the three-day event held in various parts of the capital, including Seoul City Plaza. The annual event is held to celebrate the inscription of Kimjang in the UNESCO Cultural Heritage List in 2013. Most of the kimchi made in the event will be donated to orphanages and those in need.
I've been doing Kimjang for the past 35 years. Time flies when I'm doing Kimjang because I do it with a lot of people.
With this year's Kimjang season to be in full swing soon, the Food Ministry says it's conducting a nationwide hygiene inspection on manufacturers of kimchi and related ingredients next week. Meanwhile, the ministry advises consumers to buy pickled cabbages and wash them thoroughly right before Kimjang. Kimjang, Arirang News.
It's about returning democracy to a nation held hostage to more than half a century of military rule. It's about hope for a better life for millions of desperately poor people. It's about being fully embraced by the international community. But most of all, Myanmar's general election on Sunday may prove to be opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi's moment of destiny, a chance to seize the victory the junta stole from her 25 years ago. Our Daniel Epstein is in Myanmar's capital of Yangon for us. Dan, 2 days until the big day, what's the atmosphere there like?
Hi, Kun-young. So the campaigning has finished. All the signs are supposed to have been taken down. Really, the country's going to be quite quiet for the next 24 hours as they really think about who deserves the vote. And in places like Yangon, at least, the popular choice really is the NLD. It really is the party that represents change, which is what so many people here are after. And compare that to the ruling party, the USDP, who have come to represent military rule for 60 years. There's been military rule. So the country really wants to see something new, something which represents freedom and openness. And Aung San Suu Kyi is really the person who delivers on that. She's, in a way, connected the country to the outside world. So people feel like through her, they can also be connected to the outside world. But it's not going to be an easy victory. They need more than 67% of the vote to claim the majority, whereas USDP, they only need 26% of the vote. So even if NLD do achieve that, they still then need to negotiate with the military element of the government to make any meaningful change to the constitution. So this election is not going to represent an overnight change for the country at all. Change is going to take time. That's what all people here are saying. And we're going to really have to just see and sit it out and see what these elections mean to everyone here over the next week, over the next couple of weeks. Back to you, Kimjang. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan. That was Arirang News correspondent Dan Lepstein reporting from Yangon, Myanmar. We'll check back with Dan for the election results on Monday. Now, Britain says it's increasingly likely that a bomb brought down a Russian passenger jet in Egypt. For more on that, Bruce Harrison joins me in the studio. Bruce, at least in Western countries, evidence is building that this crash, which killed hundreds of people, was an act of terrorism.
Hello, Conn-young. Yes, according to the BBC, British investigators now suspect that an explosive device was placed on or inside luggage shortly before the plane took off. And U.S. President Barack Obama has also said that, based on U.S. intelligence, a bomb may have been on that plane.
So how close are we to finding out what exactly happened?
That's hard to say right now. Both Egypt and Russia are saying, hold on a second, it's way too early to make any conclusions. And the head of civil aviation in Egypt says investigators have no evidence yet to support the explosion theory. And now, one of Egypt's main concerns at this time is the impact the crash could have on tourism, and the government maintains it's completely safe to travel there. Some residents are resisting Western countries for making assertions at this point in the investigation.
They just want to create rift between Russia and Egypt because Russia provides aid and support to Egypt, just like they're doing in Libya, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Yemen.
U.S. officials say they've intercepted communications suggesting an explosive device was smuggled onto the plane. The officials say airport security at the Sharm el-Sheikh airport is lax and that the bomb plot likely received assistance from someone at the airport. As America watched, Police Lieutenant Joe Gliniewicz was buried a hero, but he'll be remembered as a disgrace. Investigators announced this week Gliniewicz staged his own death after stealing thousands of dollars from the Fox Lake, Illinois Police Department. Gliniewicz reported he'd been pursuing 3 suspects on an early September morning when he was found dead by officers. The investigation shows he used his own gun to shoot his bulletproof vest before fatally shooting himself in the chest.
Bruce, what a traumatic time for that small town. I mean, they all came together at a time of tragedy only to learn that it was all a lie.
And it's only getting started. The investigation also is targeting Gliniewicz's family, and there's going to be a lot more this town's going to have to deal with in the next coming months.
Right. A disgrace, but not the best story to end the week on. But thank you so much for today and all of this week, and look forward to some positive stories on Monday.
Thanks, Conn-young.
We are seeing a bit of rain here in Seoul. For more on the weekend weather outlook, let's go over to our Jihan.
Happy Friday, Conn-young. Now, rain has been falling since early this evening across the nation, and moderate amount of rainfall is expected till Monday morning.
Well, I hope our viewers planned out their weekend accordingly. Now, the question is, how much rain are we going to get?
Well, for most parts of the peninsula, including here in the capital, we'll see rain from 20 to 60 millimeters, while the eastern and southern coastal regions will see showers of up to 100 millimeters till Sunday. So with rainfall, there will be a drop in temperatures tomorrow, but readings will remain around the seasonal averages. And this coming Sunday is Ipdong, already officially marking the beginning of winter according to the lunar calendar. So it's about that time of the year for us here in Korea. Time to get ready for the Kimjang season. Now, as Kim Ji-yeon mentioned earlier, Kimjang is the traditional process of making kimchi, and the best dates are from the end of the month to early December for the upper regions, and at the end of December for the southern coastal regions. So on that note, let's take a closer look at the readings for tomorrow. Low here in Seoul will kick off at 10, and later will get up to 12, and Daegu and Gwangju will peak at 16 and 19, and Busan will also top out at 19. Now, as for the other regions, Daejeon and Jeju Island will see a high of 15 and 22, while Dokdo rises to 15. Now, that's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
Well, this Saturday might be the last chance for us to enjoy the autumn season here in Korea. And come Sunday, it's Ipdong, or the start of winter, so we're going to have to start getting those snow boots out and snow coats out. That is our broadcast on this Friday evening. I'm Moon Conn-young. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you right back here same time Monday night on NEWSCENTER.